Okay, so welcome to Tuesday night meditation. Let's check out our bodies, see how your body's feeling as it sits in the seat at this moment. If the body wants to be stretched this way or twisted that way. Sometimes it feels good. You may want to try this. See if you can locate your scapulas, your shoulder blades, and kind of see if you can pull them down and together and then forward so that they're like pushing toward your heart, which will push you into a bit of an arching. And then just relax that.
Mm,
And then,
mm,
oh, I
mm.
forgot to mute people.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no problem. All right, good. So again, see if you can just easily pull the scapulas in the in your back there, the shoulder blades. Let those bones come down and then together and then forward, pushing into your heart and just like breaking up, as if breaking up the whatever kind of emotional crust is there on the heart center. Just pushing and then relax it. You might even feel a little popping of some of your vertebrae there as you're making more space within your spinal column. Space is always good. Let's do that one more time. So again, scapulas down, together, and then forward, pressing into the heart center, busting up whatever kind of neurological or psychological or emotional crap or crust is on the heart center. Just pushing it out into space forward and relaxing. That's good stuff. And let's close our eyes. So just sitting comfortably with the eyes closed. And we might notice as we're sitting here that this is not the past. This is not the future. It's not even one moment into the past or one moment into the future. It's exactly now. To whatever degree we might feel, oh, I'm carrying the past around, oh, the past is so joyous or oppressive or this or that. See if you can, even with your eyes closed, within yourself, as if you had an invisible finger, reach out and touch the past. There's nothing to reach out and touch, there's just thoughts. See if you can reach out and touch the future. There's nothing you can reach out and touch, it's just thoughts. And the thoughts are happening in now, in this present awareness. It's the only place that's ever real, the only place we ever actually are. So we may as well settle into it. Make yourself at home because this is where you've always been and are always going to be. You may change houses, you may change zip codes. Even this body that we seem to be living in, that's been changing for years. But this present awareness is the true home, the one place we can never leave. So let's have the attitude of, hey, let's own this place. Kick back, bask. Just, even though externally we're sitting up, within, the attitude within, it's like, we're just lazing back in the old lazy boy. With nothing for us to be concerned about. Nothing for us to do. The sounds come and go. Great, they take care of themselves. Sensations come and go. Great, they take care of themselves. They come by themselves, they go by themselves. Thoughts come and go. They take care of themselves. They come without our participation, and they go away without our participation. And it doesn't matter whether any of that stuff is here within the scope of our awareness or not. It absolutely doesn't matter what shows up within this open space of awareness. It absolutely doesn't matter. So feelings come and go by themselves, taking care of themselves. Whether happy feelings, worried feelings, they're just feelings. It's fine. They show up without our participation. They hang around for a while without our participation. They go away without our participation. None of that is our domain. None of that's in our job description. Our job description is just to sit here jobless, unemployed. Just lazing back in our internal lazy boy chair or in our recliner. Just resting in this open space that we call awareness. Just letting go into it. Just relaxing into it. Not trying to concentrate or clear the mind or be mindful. Anything that you think of that's associated with meditating, you don't do any of that. That's all some kind of project. We're just projectless. We just allow ourselves to be infinitely lazy as we recline back in the lazy boy. As each moment of awareness unfolds all by itself. Isn't that interesting how each fresh, brand new, never before experienced, never again to be experienced moment of awareness, like water bubbling up in a fountain, bubbles without any help from us. So nothing to do but rest in this present awareness. What color is this present awareness? This is not something to think about, just notice. Does it have a color? No. We might be aware of colors, but the awareness itself is colorless. What shape is it? What size is it? Of course, no shape, no size. No sound, no texture, no anything. It's like open space, totally free of all qualities, totally free of stuff, even as all the stuff like thoughts and sensations come and go within it. Just as space remains free, even as objects come and go within space. Nothing leaves tracks in the open space. Nothing harms or improves open space. So in the same way, nothing can harm or improve this free, boundless, qualityless open space of awareness. So we just rest in that. We just rest as that. Nothing else. Anytime you find yourself struggling with something or obsessing or resisting or tightening up around something, just relax your grip on it. That's all. Don't try to resolve it or get rid of it. Doesn't matter. Just relax your grip on it, whatever it is, and relax back into this free, boundless, open space of present awareness, which is always right here. We never have to look for it. We are never anywhere else. Maybe just notice whether there's some faint effort or even intention to be meditating, whatever that means, to be doing it right, whatever it might be. Just notice whether there's some faint little, little bit of trying to do it right. And if so, just throw that away. Just release that into the open space of awareness. Just let it vaporize. Just any little baggage of intention or trying to be a meditator or whatever, just throw that baggage overboard. It's just weighing you down. Let yourself be completely weightless. So keep the eyes closed and take a couple of minutes to gently ease the body back into a more active state. And when you feel ready, you can slowly open the eyes. But take your time as always. Okie doke, how are people doing? If you're still coming out, take your time. Always take your time. Any questions or comments about this so called meditation? Yeah, Kathy, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Um, yeah, I have a question. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think you talked about this before, but I don't know. Like, um, I'm sorry. Okay. So we're meditating and we're in the beingness, right? The awareness. We're trying to sort of
Mm-hmm.
just melt into the beingness that's all around us and over us and under us. And that's all that is.
Yeah, let me just
Okay. Okay.
stop you for 1 second.
Okay.
Wait. I'm going to put this on gallery view so I can. Okay, who knows what I'm going to call her on? And raise your hand if you know why I stopped her. Okay, Laura knows the answer. Okay, because she said we're trying to.
Okay. All
Once,
right.
as soon as you say that word, I always have to stop you. Just even if you just said it lightly, we just have to. I can't let
Okay.
that pass. We don't try to do anything. We're just being there,
Okay.
and whatever melting happens, happens.
Okay.
Okay, you
Problem I'm
please proceed.
Okay, thanks. The problem I'm having is how can I put this? If in the sort of everyday world,
Mm-hmm.
things are happening that are very disturbing to me
Yep.
that I don't have any control over.
Yep.
So in line with the meditation, am I supposed to just think or realize or tell myself that these other individuals who are, I believe, like causing the disturbance, doing horrible things to other people. And,
Mm-hmm.
think of a Hitler if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Am I just supposed to think, okay, they're just in beingness the way I am? We're all in this pool of beingness, nothing, whatever, nothingness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that the attitude?
Uh, well, first, no, it's a great question. You
No,
know,
I'm having a problem,
sure, 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 sure. Yeah, you're not the only one. Um, and you asked it in terms of, are you supposed to? There's no supposed to. It's a matter of, what's skillful, what's skillful, what what is effective in reducing suffering and maximizing happiness for all beings, including yourself.
okay.
That's the principle that makes sense to me, and I think probably looks like that makes sense to you. So what works there? What works? Um, yeah, is everyone in the being? Everyone is into beingness. Everyone is the beingness,
Okay.
but some we think of the beingness as like the big ocean, let's
Okay.
say, or a big yeah, big lake or something,
Okay.
and here there are little whirlpools. Okay, little whirlpools, and the whirlpools are what we call things and people. There's a whirlpool over there that's Kathy, a whirlpool over here that's Dean, a whirlpool over there that's Laura, or Anna, or whoever. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, the and each whirlpool has a different shape, maybe moves at a different speed, maybe gets different kinds of debris caught in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so it seems to have a personality, seems to have a reality of its own. In reality, it's all just water.
Mm-hmm.
We're all just the same beingness. Okay, we're all the same existence. We're all the same. If we were in India, we'd say we're all the same Brahman.
Okay.
Um, we're all the same. We're all the same beingness manifesting in these different shapes. But ultimately, if what's in the middle of the whirlpool? It's not a thing. It's a mode of activity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, some of those modes of activity are really destructive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some of those whirlpools are very badly behaved, right? And so on the one hand, yeah, it's very lovely to and saves us a lot of internal emotional wear and tear to recognize, hey, they are the same pond water, the same beingness that I am. But on the other hand, if they're damaging the lake, if this whirlpool is whirling around in a very destructive way and screwing up the lake and bouncing into all the other whirlpools and doing violence on them, that whirlpool's got to be spanked,
Okay.
one way or another. So the practical uh, dealings with people,
Uh-huh.
uh, and it still goes on. It still goes on. Now, ideally, it's hopefully, and a lot of this just happens in a natural way, that we don't have to more and more. We don't have to walk around saying, "Oh, they're just the same beingness as I am. They're the same Godhead as I am." More and more, that becomes a lived experience.
Mm.
We just see that. So thinking it is kind of a that's kind of a stopgap measure.
Okay.
That's kind of fake it till you make it. And that's, so there's always a little bit of artificiality about it, but a little bit of that is okay. It gives us some, again, saves us wear and tear. Um, but sometimes, Neem Karoli Baba, wonderful, enlightened sage of India of the 20th century.
Uh-huh.
who is a teacher to a lot of people in kind of, yours and my generation. Um, uh, he once said, do with other people whatever you have to do. You may have to restrain them, you may have to put them in jail, but never put them out of your heart.
Mm.
you know Now that's a tall order. I can't live up to that all the time.
Right.
I think I'm getting there incrementally. But absolutely, the I mean, I'm really glad you brought this up because it is a common misunderstanding. This, oh, we're all one, we're all the same beingness, which is true, that's valid, but therefore we just become passive and apathetic and don't respond appropriately to people's misbehavior. That's not valid. That's
Mm.
what Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche famously called that idiot compassion.
Mm.
And
Okay.
right, I think that's a useful phrase. That phrase is a good package to wrap that thing up in. Idiot compassion. We, in the name of compassion, in the name of oneness, we don't let people walk over us, and we don't let people walk over others.
Mhm. I like the analogy with the lake and the
Yeah,
whirlpool.
the whirlpools. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Oh, and also just on this subject, it reminds me of when George Floyd was murdered by, I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember the name of the guy, but
Mm-hmm.
you talked about this, but you also knew another teacher who had, I forget his name. It was the idea of keeping, I was seeing a picture of George Floyd's face and
Mm-hmm.
his murderer's face and trying to,
Yeah.
I don't know, have
Yeah. Yeah.
compassion
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
them. Yeah, and actually that guy needs compassion too.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a yeah, I mean that's a good exercise if you're up for it. It's all a matter of, are you up for it? Or is that a an exercise that you feel has juice in it for you? And the exercise, the challenge was, okay, put a picture of George Floyd up on your wherever, in your bookcase, or if you, like me, have a little, altar with pictures of your favorite saints and gurus and so forth. Put George there, and then same size, same kind of frame. You put his murderer. It doesn't matter what his name is.
I don't remember.
Um, or put Donald Trump there next to your guru, or next to Jesus or something, and then every time you look at them, just have some recognition they are the same beingness. Now you may find, if you're at all like me, find part stuff coming up in you that rebels against that. That
Mhm.
goes, no, that SOB, I'm not ready to accept that, and that's fine. That's part of the exercise.
Okay.
Part of the exercise is to pull that stuff up, to pull up your resistance, so you can see it, so
Right.
you can deal with it. Now, it doesn't mean that, okay, then you should feel guilty and feel, about whatever, to whatever degree you're falling short of that ideal. It just means that,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
uh, we're all growing. Who was it? Jesse Jackson used to say, "God is not done with me yet."
Oh, that's good.
you know, God is not done with me yet. We're all on the path.
Yeah, another spiritual advisor asked me to, this was a few months ago, to actually write a prayer for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go. There you
That's
go. Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for me,
Uh-huh.
anyway. Okay, well,
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. I should try to do that.
okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Dean.
you bet. Thank you, Kathy. Who else? Yeah. Karen, you want to unmute yourself, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi. It's so nice to see you, Karen.
Hi, I know I usually have my my video off, but
You're
I
usually
decided,
lurking,
yeah, I know.
lurking in the dark. It's so nice to see your smiling face.
I'm trying to be better about joining is it the Sangha? It's the Buddha Dharma Sangha, right?
Sangha, yeah.
Sangha, okay, yeah.
Good, good. Yeah.
Um, so recently I was reminded of that saying, or actually I think it's a law of physics that says nature abhors a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that and I just felt like, oh my gosh, like that's my mind. I feel like that is what's going on with my mind. Like it does not like this, it does not like emptiness. I feel
Mm.
like, I'll have a bunch of thoughts and emotions about a particular topic or event or whatever, and then it'll subside after a while, and then something else will come up for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just at the very forefront and occupies my a lot of my attention, and then that subsides, and then something else. It just seems like I was wondering, like, how does that law come into play? That's my first part of my question.
Right.
Um, and then the second one is, I guess, when does it finally get better? Yeah. I feel almost like my mind, like sometimes it has an addiction. Like it's just,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 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 So, boy, that's such a juicy phrase to consider. Nature abhors a vacuum. Now, that isn't. You were right the first time. That's an expression. It's not a law of physics. I don't
Hmm.
know who first said that. I'll have to probably, like, I don't know, Alexander Pope or someone. I don't know. I'll check that. But so I don't know if nature abhors a vacuum, but really, I think your point here, the mind abhors a vacuum. Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Um, why is that? Okay. To understand why that is, we have to ask ourselves, well, what is the mind? What is the mind? So, and you see what you're doing right now when your eyes start to drift to the right like that. You're thinking. You're trying to think about, okay, what is the? Which of course, almost everyone does. So what I want to invite you and invite everyone to do right now is locate your mind. Locate your mind. Okay. Uh, Kristen is pointing to her temporal lobes. Is that your actual experience? Now she's pointing to her left temporal lobe and her collarbone. Now, Kristen? Are
My
you?
heart mind, and my regular mind. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
the two
Okay.
minds.
Okay. But now, are you actually pointing to something that you're experiencing right now here in the lab, or it's really kind of an idea, something that a notion that you have? It's kind of a nice, comfy notion, maybe something you read somewhere.
Comfy notion.
Yeah, right, right. So we're in the lab now. We're in the lab. So we have to throw out all because it's never been right now before. You've never been you looking at this fresh, raw, uncooked, unprocessed, unadulterated experience before. Everyone. Okay? So throw away all your remembered or borrowed notions and just see if you can find your mind. See if you can find your mind.
No.
Yeah, yeah, me neither. Me neither. Me neither. Okay. I mean, be a really good. I mean, if we were like in Tibet in the old days, and we were in a full time sangha. We were all in the monastery. We were with the lama. The lama would set us this task. We'd be working on this for you say, okay, everyone go back to your cave now for the next week. Try to find your mind. Really try. and then we'd come back after a week. Anyone find the mind yet? And we'd all go, no, no, no. Okay, look harder. And you say, right? So, and you might spend a couple of weeks like that. So you'd really, be uh, pretty convinced by the time, after the end of a month or something of trying to locate your mind, you'd be really, really clear. No, I can't find it.
Mm.
In my, we hear about the mind. We've been talking about the mind for our whole lives, but we've never experienced it. Okay, so we don't have that luxury. We're living in, modern society, blah, blah, blah. So instead of a month, we spend 5 minutes here. Um, um, so what did those lamas and their, disciples, what did they, by in all this investigating, what did they conclude? And again, don't take their word for it, because then it just becomes another notion again. But check this out for yourself. What they concluded was that the mind, the reason we can't find the mind is that it doesn't exist.
Mm.
There's no such thing as the mind. What we call the mind is not a thing, it's not a noun. What it is a verb. It's a bunch of activity. And that activity is what's called thinking. It's thoughts. Now we can find thoughts. We can experience thoughts. We're experiencing thoughts right now, right? Thoughts within awareness, right? So I can quite clearly experience there's a thought. Although it's interesting when you try to get hold of a thought, right? And especially Karen, because you're so bothered by these thoughts. Okay, zero in on one. The next thought that comes into your mind. See if you can find the front of it and the back of it and the middle of it. Yeah, what's happening?
Mm. There is no front or back or middle.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just there.
yeah, yeah. They're slippery little devils, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. They're much less substantial than we imagine them to be. We say, okay, this thought. See if you can find the place where the next thought ends and then the next thought begins. Of course, everyone do this.
Mm.
Yeah, you see how it starts to kind of, the closer we look at it, the more it starts to deconstruct. Right? So this is when you look at something, instead of resisting it, instead of, just being caught up and being bothered by it, this is the thing where they, you tell the kid who has the nightmares every night, the monster is, chasing me in my dream every night. Well, turn around and maybe turn around and confront that monster. Say, hey, let me get a closer look at you. Right? And then it starts to deconstruct. So the thing is, what there is this flow of thoughts. And even this flow of thoughts is much more, much less solid, much less substantial than we imagine it is. This idea that the thoughts are solid is what's known as a thought.
Mm.
Okay? That's just another thought. Right? And the thing is that this thing that we think we have called the mind, it's just this bunch. It's like, okay, take that word mind and just for the moment turn the first letter, turn the M upside down to make a W, and now we're talking about wind, right? And we say, because we're speaking English, and in English we have, we all learned this in the fourth grade or the fifth grade. In a sentence we have the subject and the verb. So we say the wind blows, right? And so it seems like, oh, there's this thing, this entity called the wind, and then there's this action that it does, which is blowing. But here's my question for you. When the wind is not blowing, what is it doing? When the wind is not blowing, what is it doing?
It doesn't exist.
Correctamundo. It doesn't exist because there's no such thing as wind. There's only an activity of blowing. Okay? You know, when the and when it blows really hard, and this is called the philosophical term for this, where we conceptually create a thing when there is no thing. It's called reification. reification. From the Latin word re, meaning thing. Literally, it's thingification, right? So we reify the blowing, and we call it wind. In the same way, we reify thinking, and we call it mind, as if there's a thing there. And when the wind blows really hard, we reify it even more intensely. We give it a name. It's Hurricane Katrina. And then, you know, and all the newscasters and the weather people come on. Katrina has unlashed her full fury on the Bahamas, right? Well, when Katrina's done unlashing free, what does she do then? Does she go on vacation and, you know, sit on the beach and, right? She doesn't exist. It's just a bunch of blowing. The mind doesn't exist. It's just a bunch of thoughts. And the closer we look at the thoughts, as we've seen, the more they kind of deconstruct. Here's another question for you, Karen. How many thoughts can you have at one time? Take a look. Everyone take a look.
It kind of feels like a lot, like I can have a lot, but I guess I really examine it. It's really
really examine it. Examine it right now. Everyone examine it now. What are you getting? Kelly and Laura are saying 1. Kirsten's saying 1. Yeah, that seems to be the consensus. You can only ever have one thought at a time. Once in a while you might have 0, but that's kind of an accident. It's not very important. So the number of thoughts you're having at one time is always between 0 and 1, usually closer to 1.
So Dean, then multitasking, which I'm sure you know, I mean, I do that a lot. It feels like I got all these.
It feels like it because you're not closely examining it. Let's for now, because when we're caught up in the world doing multitasking and, you know, and all that, we're probably not looking as with the intense clarity at our experience that we are now. So just for now, let's keep it to what we experience in meditation when we're just looking at our experience. And then we'll see it does carry over into the world of activity. Okay? So what happens is, as Karen, as you said very rightly, it seems like there's a bunch of thoughts all at once, like I'm just being assailed, right? And that's because we could say, now that we've seen we can only have one thought in a given moment. And as you know, I was emphasizing at the beginning of the meditation tonight, we're only ever in this one moment, the only moment that exists, which is now. So in order to create the illusion that we're being assailed on all sides by all these thoughts, we have to engage in a little bit of self-trickery that I called moment blurring. We have to blur the moments together, right? We blur the moments together so that it seems as if we're having all these thoughts at once. Kind of in the way, you know, the way a movie works, you know, where it's the old, you know, all the separate frames. If we think of each frame in the movie as a moment, and in order to create the illusion of movement, you know, we blur those together, right? So just shining this light of of clear attention on the situation, you see how it starts to deconstruct it. Oh, there is no mind here. This thing I've been struggling with. You're wrestling with the mind, trying to overcome the mind. You can never overcome the mind because it doesn't exist. You're wrestling with a ghost. Okay? And you can never solve the situation of having all those thoughts at once because you don't have all those thoughts at once. You're trying to undo a situation that doesn't exist. Okay? So, there's a saying in Zen at certain points they say, at this point, there's nothing left to do but have a good laugh. And the main thing is to, I think you may see, Karen, when you sit down to meditate in the coming days, that having spent a few minutes paying, perhaps closer attention to these issues than you have before, I think you'll find yourself less bothered. As you realize, I've been knocking my head against a wall that's not there, right? And just and then whatever thoughts are there, the main thing to know, always the main thing to know, is it doesn't matter. You just, what do we do with thoughts? Ignore them. Ignore doesn't mean make yourself not aware of it. See, this is important. People misunderstand this. Ignore doesn't mean somehow I'm gonna put them on mute. Because then you're going, oh, I'm still aware of them. The mute button's not working. That's not ignoring. That's the opposite of ignoring. That's requiring them to behave in a certain way, to go away or however you want them to behave. That's not ignoring. Ignoring means, screw it, whatever. They're here, they're not here. There's a bunch, there's a few. It seems like there's a bunch all at once, even though we've found out that's not true. It seems like there's this mind that keeps creating them. We found out that's not true. Whatever. You ignore it, and ignore it means you let it be, you let it go, you let it be. You don't struggle with it, you don't oppose it, and you don't buy into it. You don't buy into the notion that it matters, that it has any substance. And every time you do that, every moment, because for the most part, our lives out here with our eyes open, out here in the so-called real world, are pretty much based on the notion that, these thoughts really do matter. Whether this thought is present or this thought is present, or people accept this thought or people accept that thought. And, this is a world where there's some truth to that. But in this world that we, with our eyes closed, it doesn't matter. And every moment that you spend just letting it not matter, just letting yourself ignore the thoughts, which means let them be there, let them not be there, it's none of my business. Every moment that you spend doing that is weakening their grip on you. And actually, even that's not true, because thoughts don't have any grip on you. How can a thought have a grip on you? It's you that's gripping the thought. It's you that's gripping the thought. And there's two main ways to grip a thought. Okay? So two main ways to grip a thought, right? One way is to hang on to it because, I've got to figure this out, and I got to pursue this, and I got to and then we wind up hanging on to it. The other main way to grip the thought is, I have to get rid of this. So we keep trying to push it. We keep trying, I keep trying to get rid of. See, but you see, pushing away is a form of hanging on. right? Can you see that? Push. In order to keep pushing it away, we have to hang on to it so we can keep pushing it, right? So what we do is we go the third way. Watch closely. The third way is this. Relax your grip. And then it doesn't matter that it's there. Then this is ignoring. Fine, it's there. After a while, it'll fall away. Or maybe not. It doesn't matter. Because as long as we relax our grip, see, now the hand, which is our attention, is now open to the 360 degrees of boundless open awareness, within which there's various flotsam and jetsam bouncing around, including that thought and the, you know, the sound of the fan or the heater going, and the sensation of, you know, your butt pressing against the seat and whatever else might be there. Are you hearing that?
Mm-hmm.
Then every time you do that, what you're doing, because we have a lifelong habit, we've had a whole lot of practice of being really invested in the primacy of thought. And it's, you know, the old saying, it's hard to break an old habit, but it's easy to institute a new habit. So every time we relax our grip on the thought, we're instituting this whole new way of being, which then more and more carries over into regular life. And this is kind of going back to Kathy's point. More and more, we can still deal with stuff that needs to be dealt with, but we're not as caught up in it. We more and more have the option, and we have the range of openness to see, okay, this needs to be dealt with. This needs to be dealt with. And there's a whole bunch of stuff, most of the stuff that's beyond our control, and we don't have to be about it all the time. Now, this brings us back to your original question, your presenting question. Why does the mind abhor a vacuum? Right? Now, if we come full circle with this, it's very interesting. The mind abhors a vacuum because since there is no mind, since what we call mind is just, you know, these thoughts going on, when the thoughts go away, or when they don't even have to go away, when we ignore them, then the so-called mind is getting knocked off of its throne. The so-called mind is getting knocked off of its throne, right? It's and another way we can say this, the ego, which really just comes from, you know, belief in, you know, the mistaken identity of our awareness with the products of the mind, right? In other words, the mind has all these thoughts. Oh, there's this sound, which is my name, right? That sound that my parents made when I was in the crib, and I heard it over and over till I started thinking that I am this thing, right? And I'm this old, and I've got all this, you know, and I'm this and this and this. All these ideas that, oh, this is who I am, this is what I am, right? And what happens when we ignore the thoughts is the ego also turns out to be insubstantial, right? The false identity starts to deconstruct, starts to melt because it never really existed, and it just becomes more and more clear that what we are is what's left over. What's left when this stuff that we identified with goes away or is ignored? What's left is boundless open space of awareness. That's called waking up. That's called enlightenment. You know, so essentially what the thing you're asking about, you know, the abhorring a vacuum, what's that really about? It's about the ego fighting, the ego mind, we can, you know, join them with a hyphen, the ego mind fighting for its life, fighting to hold on to its throne. You know, it's trying to not die. It's the reason, the reason for the abhorring the vacuum of thoughts is that we're afraid of dying. That's really what it comes down to. We're afraid. As long as I'm thinking, I'm not dead. Right? As long as I'm thinking, okay, keep this thing going. Okay, I'm Karen. I'm this. I'm da, ba, da, ba, da. This is going to happen. Da, da. We got all these handholds. And when the thoughts go away, or when the thoughts or the primacy of the thoughts go away, when they're ignored, all our handholds go away. We go into free fall.
Right.
Right. Free fall. Guess what's the first word in free fall? Free. Free. Right? And we're afraid of free fall because we think, okay, I'm going to hit bottom, I'm going to splatter. But when all that stuff, when we've let it all go, there's nothing to splatter against. It's all just space. We're just space falling in space. Hallelujah. That's freedom. That's what the awakened ones are awake to. And that's what everyone here, what we're all waking up to. And the mind is going to fight it, because the mind wants to keep convincing us that it exists.
Mm. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It is great. It is great. We're lucky we've had sages to point this stuff out to us.
Oh, Dean?
Yeah, Fuding.
Another thought on that bit about not saying everything. There's in the I Ching, there's a really nice statement. The wise man lets a lot of things go by without being duped. And I love that, because when I was younger, I used to think, oh, I'm an artist, declare yourself, let's say at a dinner party or something, as if every thought that I had was precious and had to be expressed. And then, well, in time, I learned, wait, hold it. You don't have to say everything. Doesn't mean you're duped either. You just let a lot of things can pass. It doesn't make a difference. And now, if it made a difference, then you would speak up, of course. But so much is just not even relevant. And along that same line about not liking a vacuum, here's an aspect that I find really helpful, because it's a really good question. Because let's say I had a big conversation with my ex-wife, and she just hated Trump. Like, wait, hold it. You're a shaman. You're not supposed to hate. Well, I can't help it. There's that whole dynamic. And so then let's say the part of me that would hate Trump, but wait, hold it. Like if I say, no, you're not supposed to hate, stop hate. Okay, now that puts into a vacuum. That's where, there's a void there. And so here's where I find that little epithet actually has helped. Nature doesn't like a balance. So I always counsel, my shamanic people and myself, put something in place. So instead of saying, I hate Trump, I'm making this up, but now's the time to fill up that vacuum. My chance to I'm making this up, to avoid judgment. You can say such things, but not judgment. You have another thought to take its place to fill up that void. And I know this is really practical and true, let's say, in directing actors in my filmmaking days. You can't say, oh, no, don't think of a pink pig. No, don't think of it. No, you can't give a negative. You have to say, don't think of a white swan or something else, so they can do something positive and put it forward. So that replacement kind of fills up that void. Otherwise, my psyche is like stymied right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think there's a time to not come up with something else to think about.
Oh, if you can do it, but I can't do it. Let's say if I'm supposed to stop hating something, or something negative, is sometimes very difficult to not think of anything and just let it settle.
The more I get it, the more I explore with this stuff and explore how to communicate about it, the more about the best phrase I've got on any of this stuff is relax your grip.
Oh, that's a great one.
Just whatever the thing is, relax your grip on it. Don't invest in getting rid of it. Just relax your grip on it and repeat as needed. One place where this is really useful, of just not necessarily having to come up with a thought, is when you're listening to other people. So for instance, your ex-wife is going on about Trump or whatever, or when people talk to us about their personal challenges, their health challenges, or their career challenges, or whatever it is, right? I mean, these conversations, we have them all the time, and very commonly we just kind of assume, there's this kind of unexamined assumption that, okay, while the person's talking, I'm thinking about what's this helpful thing that I'm going to respond with in the next break when they come to the end of their paragraph here. What's the healing thing to say, or what's the clever thing to say, or what's the appropriate thing to say, and I've found that it's really seems to be a good, often a much more skillful way to participate in the conversation is just sit there and listen and just be the space. Just be the empty space for them to talk into. Because most of the time, they're not really looking for you to say something helpful. They're just looking to vent, right? And if we can just be there as, okay, I'm going to be this big black hole for you to dump all your stuff into. I'll just be, just yum, eat 'em up. I'll just swallow. I think, Fuding, you're probably familiar with the, in the Vajrayana tradition, there's the exercises where you take on, in meditation, you take on other people's suffering. Sometimes there's different ways to visualize it. You can visualize it like hot, toxic, foul-smelling, greasy black smoke, and every time you breathe in, you're breathing in people's suffering in the form of that, and every time you breathe out, you're breathing out compassion and healing in the form of just clear light, right? So, there's formal, structured ways to do that, but, maybe we don't have to get that fancy. Just to listen and just be there and be the open space for them to talk into and not be trying to think of something appropriate to say. And the interesting thing is that then when they pause and they're looking for you to say something, what I find is then something will come out. Something will come out of you that's coming from someplace deeper than just, what we could figure out with our so-called mind, that we could just figure out by thinking, oh, I should say this, I shouldn't say this. Just by our, just being for them. And then when it's necessary to say something, something tends to bubble up from that deeper place. So, if people find that helpful, if that's ringing bells for you. Good. Anything else tonight?
Well, here's a thought.
Yes.
Someone before had talked about surrendering or about being passive, like if you're detached,
Oh, yeah. Being
that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of thoughts come up, like, and what I've gotten really clear is like, no, outwardly, in any difficult situation, any adversity, do whatever can be, but be done.
Yeah.
If you run out of gas, get some gas or something.
Yeah.
But inwardly, that's where the surrender is. Like, oh, not the judgment or the self-pity. Why does this always happen to me? If so-and-so did this wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
All those kinds of inner thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's, let it go. Accept what is. Don't put judgment. Don't have self-pity. Don't have self-importance. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, outwardly, you do whatever you do. Like, there's a great story from Ramakrishna about this guy.
Wait. Before you go on, I just, the way I would phrase that, where you say, don't have self-pity, don't have judgment, I just say, don't buy into self-pity. Don't buy into, if they're there, just treat them, just know they're just thoughts. Relax the grip on them.
Right, yes.
Relax the grip on them.
I like that, yes.
Don't judge yourself for judging. Don't judge yourself for judging people, because you're one of those. You're also a people who deserves to not be judged.
Anyway, that story about how much are you active or passive when you are surrendering. So here's a story that I always hit home for me. So in the Ramakrishna story, there's a guy who is a really new devotee, and he was meditating in the jungle. And then he heard somebody in the distance crashing through. It was an elephant or something crashing through the jungle. And some mahout, the guy that mounts on the elephant, saying, look out, watch out, get away, mad elephant. And the guy meditating said, no, I'm in God's grace, so nothing can happen to me. God will protect me. And so he kept meditating. And now the elephant's a lot closer. Get out, you know, the elephant's mad elephant. And he's, no, this is a test of my faith. I will just hold my position here. And now the elephant's really close. And now the elephant's right on him. Elephant sees one look at him with his trunk, picks him up and throws him out, breaks his bones and everything. Okay, then afterwards, the devotee goes to Ramakrishna and says, like, hey, I had faith in God. What's the deal? You made me, you know, you gave me this faith. I had it, and now I practice it, and now I got hurt. And Ramakrishna, you are so stupid and so stubborn. Don't you know God came up first and had the mahout saying, yelling, get out, get out, get out, and you refuse to listen. And then God came into when the closer, there was another exclamation yelling, you know, for you to get away, and you ignored it. So God tried to protect you 3 times. You'll never get it. So you just had to get tossed.
Yeah, you know, there's a story. I actually, my dad was when my dad was couple of weeks before he died, and he was, you know, he had cancer and he was on a lot of drugs, and he was trying to remember this story, and he was telling this story and kind of getting lost in it. So that's an association for me. But anyway, the story is up in the frozen Yukon. There's a saloon, and a couple of these hardy explorers are there tossing back beers, and one of them says, hey, you guys, do you believe in God? And the other explorer says, well, I'll tell you. One time I was way out in the frozen wastes, out in the frozen tundra, and I got lost and, you know, blinded in a driving snowstorm, and first one of my sled dogs died, and then the other dogs died, and it was just me, and I was completely lost, and I was trekking along, and I could feel I was running out of body heat and running out of strength, and I lifted my face to the heavens. I said, God, if you're up there, if you exist, please help me. Please get me out of here. Get me to safety. And the other explorer said, well, what happened? Did God help you out? Was God there? And the explorer says, I don't know. Just when I said that, along came some damn Eskimo and brought me to the village. Okay, let's I'm going to sing a little mantra here to end the evening. So I'm going to mute you all again. And feel free to sing along if you feel like it. Or just let it wash over you. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So may all beings swiftly realize their true nature. No mind, no ego, boundless, present awareness, no beginning, no end, no past, no future, no top, no bottom, no inside, no outside, no plot, no theme, no conflict, no characters, no problems, within which all this drama takes place, but always remaining untouched by the drama. May all beings swiftly realize that, and to sum it up, may all beings be happy, and thus may peace prevail everywhere. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you for your beautiful questions, your beautiful practice, your beautiful presence.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank
Bye.
you, Dean.
See
See
you
you
around.
next time.
See you
Bye-bye.
next
Take care.
Take
We
care.
miss you.
Enjoy.
All of
Enjoy
you.
being. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you were on vacation. Welcome
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. 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 It was great. Yeah. With my grandbabies. Yeah. But
Oh.
but yeah, it's lovely. Lovely to be here. To be with y'all. Enjoy being.